Yeah, isn't it a great day out there today? We're considering how cold it is, and um, we,
Yeah, more snow.
yeah, yeah. I
Although I
love.
don't see it in your backyard.
Yeah, I love it when it snows. Actually, it's nice and crisp. But yesterday we had 7 degrees, and
Yeah,
today what are we, minus 10, 15?
I think so. Yeah, somewhere around -10.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's Calgary. That'll change.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see. I just want to check that we are live, and it looks like we are. So, welcome. I have with me today David Saxby. David is an entrepreneur, a professional speaker, business coach, and consultant. He's got a lot of experience as creative director and president at Spark Communication, a marketing communications firm. He helps businesses create strategic advantage over their competitors by developing innovative marketing strategies. He has developed a keen understanding of the complex issues facing small business owners, especially at this time of the situation of the economy and the volatility that we have today. His team has spent more than 10 years and over $2 million developing the world's first e-learning marketing system. I want to hear about that, as well as a proprietary marketing and sales assessment software used by small business clients in 50 countries to grow their business to multi-million-dollar status. Wow, congratulations, Dave. This is a really exciting time. I'm guessing for you, there's a lot of people that you can help out there.
Well, thanks, Nagy, for the opportunity to chat with you. And you're right. It's a tough climate right now, and there's a lot of businesses that have closed their doors, and even more businesses that have gone into a home-based business situation, and a lot of coaches popping up. We noticed that in the market. There's a lot of people who've gone into the coaching business for sure.
Yeah, actually, and so a topic of discussion. That this live stream. I'm hoping we have a lot of new coaches out there, or a lot of coaches that also want to share their experience. So, if anybody has any questions, please type them in the chat area and we'll get to them. But my focus, and I think your focus as well right now, is how do we help all these new coaches that are getting into the marketplace, whether, because it was a passion and this was a great opportunity with the COVID and so forth to pursue the passion, or whatever the situation is. We have lots and lots of coaches out there at the moment. So that's the focus of our conversation. So what do you think is potentially the number one thing that coaches need to consider in building their coaching practice at the moment?
Well, I think the hardest part for coaches, new coaches in particular, but also even for small businesses, is they really don't have an understanding, or they don't have a background in marketing, and many don't have a sales background. They may have come from a technical skill of some sort, and many coaches have taken what they've learned in their business life and turned it into a coaching career. But the challenge for majority of businesses is they don't understand what sales and marketing is all about.
Yeah.
And so thought I'd share today with you and with the coaches out there 7 sort of tips that I can give them that will hopefully get them on the right track. And I think that the first point I'd like to make is simply that marketing is not an event. It's not a one-shot deal. It's not throw something on Facebook and you're famous. It's process. Yeah,
Yes.
darn, eh?
Yeah.
Guess we'll have to work harder there. Maybe.
If you build it, they will come. Doesn't work.
No.
Okay.
If you
Yes.
build it and talk about it, they may still not come, but if you build it and market it, it probably will happen.
Yeah.
It's also not a fix. I think there's so many businesses out there have dumped the traditional ways of bringing in business and gone totally onto a social media platform, and it's not necessarily for everybody in every market. So, which also leads to the second point, is because marketing is a process and sales is a process, is really they need to have a plan.
Right.
They need to have a plan, they need to allocate a little bit of a budget, and then they need to have some way of tracking what's going on, some way of measuring what's working, what's not, and then adjust accordingly, right? I think that's the second point.
Right.
Yeah.
So just before you go into your other points, if I can just interject a little bit, do you mind?
Sure.
You're
Please.
causing me to think a little bit. So what you're saying is they need to know who they are and who they target, okay? Then that allows them to create the right message to take out there, but that doesn't mean it's for all the medium. They need to pick the right medium. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head, is that in order to be dominant in your area of expertise in the market, and particularly as a coach, you need to be able to have a small niche or a part of a market, a target market, that you work best with.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to do that, you need to understand your target market. And so, we talk about, like with your company, AccuMatch, you do behavioral analysis. Well, there's a thing called neuromarketing now in the market. It's been around for a number of years, where advertisers and companies will do an analysis of their target markets, and they'll look at not only the typical thing like age, income, household,
Yeah, right.
all that sort of thing, the number of kids and so on, but they look at the psychographics, which is how the individuals think. And then in addition to that, they look at what we call sociographics, and that's the group think. So
Right.
it's how does that group act, and where do they go to get information, and what do they do for activities and so on. So if you can get a good understanding of that, then chances are then you can find out which medium is going to work right,
Yeah.
which creates what we call a market dominating position. Because if you can own a portion of the media in your area of expertise with the right market, you have a better chance of being able to attract the right people to work with.
Yeah, I think you and I talked one time a while back about the application of AccuMatch into that neural space, to be able to identify whether your target market, your ideal customer, is say high procedural, and if they're high procedural, then your message needs to give them a step by step what to do. But if your target market is entrepreneurs who are creative, and we call them high option, which we get from the AccuMatch map, then you need to just plant some seeds that get them excited. So knowing how your ideal client thinks and receives information, that's just as important as the message itself, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And the other side of it too, I find, and this is typical of all businesses, professionals are typically in this category, in that most businesses talk to their customers from their perspective. I do this, I do that, my business does this, we do that. It's a feature. What the customer needs to know is what it's going to do for them, which is a benefit. So that's another aspect of marketing that new coaches in particular, but coaches in general need to look at, is, go back to their materials, go back to their website, go back to their emails, and what does it talk about, right?
Yeah, I think you were saying earlier, as we were getting ready to come online here, is most businesses start because of an area of expertise, right? And,
Yes.
And I've been there. I'm the same. So I want to talk about my products and my services and what I can do, and I use the word "I" deliberately there. what I am about, and what this is about, and so forth. Whereas what you're saying is your message needs to be more you oriented so that they can see themselves into that. Am I saying it the right way? You probably say it much better than I can.
Absolutely, yeah. With the coaching that I do, particularly in the area of sales and marketing with small businesses, I look at a formula. We call it the conversion formula, where we talk about, first of all, we've got to get their attention. So we need to engage them. And then second, we need to tell them that there's a benefit that's going to solve their problem. So the engage is the headline. It's usually addressing an issue or a problem that a customer has. And then the second stage is to inform them that there's a solution, give them a bit of a solution. The third part is to educate them on why us. Why would my business be of benefit to helping them solve their problem? And that's the part where we talk about that it's easy, that it's maybe it's fun if it's a certain type of coaching. Maybe it's cost effective. There's going to be an upside results.
Yeah.
And then we make an offer. And typically, if you look at, I bet you if you did an analysis and you went out to most coaching websites, on their website, it'll say, call me for an appointment. Go here and enter your email to book an appointment, and so on and so forth. And professionals do the same thing. And that's partially because that's been the way it's been for a long, long time. But the market's beyond that now. They need to know, give me enough information that I can decide properly which is the best provider.
Yeah. I wonder if sometimes also the target market, if we don't talk enough about the problem, and I refer to it sometimes as the pain, that
Absolutely.
they're walking around, thinking that they have a problem, but they're actually in pain, and they don't realize just how much pain they're in and how much that's costing them. And so part of the message that I'm hearing you say is you gotta get them to recognize the pain, otherwise they don't want the solution to just I call it puking, to just puke out the solution all over a whole bunch of people. It's not very helpful, right?
Yeah, feature dumping is like going to a smorgasbord and figuring having a smorgasbord and the customer figuring the customer is going to come in and eat everything. No, they're going to select what's going to solve their need at the moment, or what their interest or their desire is at the moment. So like you say, if you can identify the customer's key pain areas, then when they're having a conversation, either through marketing or in a sales conversation, they can address it with a specific opportunity to solve the problem.
Yeah.
And then the last part is make the offer something that they have to look at and say, well, why would I go anywhere else? This is the person that's going to solve my problem. Right?
Yeah.
So I think those are some of the things that are key for small business, but in particular for coaches.
Well, and I think what you described there also, it just makes me think of Jeffrey Gitomer. He always talks about, they got to like and trust you. You've just described the formula for them to like and trust you. If you do all of those things and you don't just come across as what we used to call salesy, right?
Yeah.
The pushing a sale doesn't work anymore. We need to. You can explain that better than I can, right?
Well, it's about building relationships, and you hit the nail on the head again in that trust is a major factor. I mean, how many businesses, particularly during this time of COVID, have disappeared? And somebody's invested their time and money to buy from that company and get a product or service, and then they find out one day that the company's gone, the business is gone. So trust factor goes down. So many businesses also go to the internet and they find out everything they can about your business and your services before they ever talk to you. So they know all the features.
Yeah.
What they don't know is how those features are going to solve their problem or take away the pain, as you mentioned, dealing with pain. So the other side of it too, for coaches as well, another tip is that many businesses use tactics first. So they'll throw something on Facebook, or maybe put it on LinkedIn, or they'll send out a brochure, or they'll, update their website, or, all of these tactics. And the problem with that gets right back to what we talked about in the beginning is who's your target market? Where do they go to get the information?
Yeah.
So, and that's a strategic look at things.
Yeah, yeah.
That's looking at things from the perspective of strategy.
Mm. And I think, from my point of view as well, to add to that is you won't know who your target market is until you know yourself. I think I talk about that in the book. Who are you? What type of coaching? Who's your focus? Why are you there? Are you doing something just because it's an attractive market and it's got a lot of revenue attached to it, or do you actually have a passion and a skill for that? Because people can sense that.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
it's, I think there was a study many years ago about why people go into a career, and the study showed something like 4% went into a business or a career for their passion, and the other balance of that, 96%, went into their career for the money.
Yeah.
The successful ones were the ones at the end that went into the business for a passion, and they found a way to build a following.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why in the market now we need to have a tribe, a following that believes in us, shares our information, helps others understand how you can help them, and that sort of thing. So and then be able to communicate that message through the right channels so that we attract the right people to our market.
Yeah.
And you write about, in your book, you talk about the different types of coaches. And I found it interesting because I see a lot of coaches out there trying to be all things to everybody. And just before we got on this call today, I was joking the fact that I won't go to anybody and say I'm a marriage counselor or a relationship counselor because I'm single. So,
yes.
But I do know sales and I do know marketing, and I am a business coach.
Yes, as soon as they find that out, they might have some judgments about your abilities. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
And it's actually interesting you bring that up because coming back to the people that get into coaching, for instance, or any business because of their passion. First of all, the first thought that comes to mind is it's just because you love doing something, it doesn't mean that people are looking for it and they want to buy it. There may not be a market. That's not a business. That's just a hobby. So get it and put it in a hobby. Understand your market, and will the market do they need it, and will they pay for it, and can they afford it? Those are important elements of understanding your business model, right?
Absolutely. And the other thing is your credibility, because credibility also builds trust. Mm-hmm. And for new coaches, that's difficult to establish if, especially if they've come directly from a corporate position where they never really took any leadership role, to be able to go to a business owner, a CEO of a company, and say, hey, I can help you do X, Y, Z. I'll help you solve this problem. The first question that the CEO is going to ask is, well, who are you? Where did you come from? And what's your expertise? How did you, tell me about your credibility. How did you solve problems for others? Oops, that's difficult, right?
Yeah. It's especially, I think the low-hanging fruit for a lot of coaches is small business coaching, coaching small businesses. And, I think, it comes back to trust. When a small business owner signs up with a coach, they're really saying, I'm putting my livelihood, my family's livelihood in your hands, and you're saying you can help me. Show me that you can do that. And sometimes a lot of new coaches don't have that background, the old, I've been there, I've done that, I've had the failures, I've had the successes. Yes, I'm going to share a lot of experience with you. That has a lot of weight. So how does a new coach overcome that?
Well, first of all, they need to find some clients or opportunities where they can help somebody, and it may be initially on a pro bono basis where they're helping them solve a problem, and then they can later on get a testimonial from that business owner or the person they're coaching to say, hey, they did a great job, I accomplished all these things, hire them, right? These are the people to go to. So that's one way. The other one is to look at it from the perspective of putting helpful information out there in the marketplace. So that could be doing everything from blogging to posting videos or doing what you and I are doing, talking over a podcast.
Yep.
And sharing that information with people such that the people get the opportunity, their target market, get the opportunity to listen to the person, watch the person, hear about situations that they've helped solve, and then from there build that credibility and trust and connection. So particularly from a marketing perspective, getting coaches to put helpful tips and ideas and information and articles and all of those things into a format that their audience is going to pay attention to and keep in touch with them on a regular basis is critical.
Right.
The key thing is, if you think about the marketplace, there's about 1 to 3% of the market that's ready to buy today. They've got a big enough pain. It's like the person that goes to the doctor and the pain is excruciating and they need it to go away quick. There's about 1 to 3% in the market, right? The other 97% may not buy today. They might buy 30 days, 60 days, or never from you. So I guess the question would be for most people is, why are we in a dogfight for the 3%? Why aren't we pursuing the other 97% by doing things that we can attract people through our communications, through our marketing, or through our sales process, through online with digital and so on. And the other part of it too, I think, with all businesses and especially with new coaches, is do they have an identifiable brand? Like, does that brand relate to their audience? Does it connect to them? And I'm not just talking about a pretty logo. I'm talking about their image, their message, the name of their business. A lot of business people start with their last name. Well, if you can't spell your last name, neither can the customer's not going to spell it right either. If it doesn't flow off the tip of their tongue, or if the last name is Smith, well, good luck competing in the market with a last name like Smith. So it's creating, as you've done with AccuMatch, that's a good example. And there's many good examples of that out in the market. And so that's a difficult thing for most businesses, to figure out what's the right name for what I do. And then from there, being able to build a lead magnet, some way of drawing people in. So what do we do to attract our audience in and build that, what we call a sales funnel? So we start with a larger market, and then we bring it down to the actual customer that's interested in buying. And there's lots of things we can do in that regard, like building an email drip campaign, creating lead capture devices on websites and social media channels where people can connect up and become part of a group and so on. So, and then, the other part of it too, I think, and you and I had talked about this a bit, is one of the things that we do in our coaching businesses. We have that software program you'd mentioned earlier. With sales and marketing, one of the hardest parts for most businesses is they have no idea if there's a possibility of results, and so they look at it as a cost instead of an investment. And we're able to take a look at what companies are doing right now and what revenue they're getting right now, and do an analysis and actually show them where the potential for growth is in the area of sales and marketing in the way of dollars and cents.
Yeah.
Which there are not many marketing consultants that can actually do that.
Yeah.
So
no, it's great. You took me through that, and it's staggering, just watching the dollars add up as to how much money you're leaving on the table by not doing all those things that it identifies. It's pretty powerful.
Yeah, and it's also giving a path and a plan to be able to implement, because you can't do everything at once. And that's challenge with a lot of coaches is they're a one-person operation. They can't do everything at once.
Right. Yeah.
They've got to focus on one thing at a time and make it work.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's also building a system and a process, and then capturing the information from the leads generated to be able to put them through the process. So,
Yeah.
you know, using a tool like a CRM, a customer relation management tool.
Yeah. Yeah, I always have the visual of, someone trying to juggle multiple objects, right? And that they're now having to use their feet and hands and head and everything. There's just it's just an amazing thing to watch if the 0.0001% of the population may be able to do that, but most of us can't. So as you say, pick one, put it in place, make it work, and then move on to the next one and build it like building a house, a foundation, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think, I was just thinking as you were talking there, sorry I'm interjecting a lot here, but
Great.
when I first started consulting, I'm not going to go into what year that was, but it was a few decades ago. We didn't really have coaching back then, but we had this thing called best practice, right? And you're a resource of best practices, and I think new coaches maybe don't reach out enough to experts that have been through this, that then give them the foundation, the structure, the discipline, the tools, whatever you want to call it, education, so that they go into a business with, I have some best practices that I can share with you, rather than, I have all this experience. No, I don't have the experience, but I've worked with some world leaders that are providing some best practices. We're going to use those. And then the second part of that is when I get stuck, I'm part of that community and I can go and get answers to any problem or most problems that you and I, Mr. Business Owner, come across. So that's where my head was going when you were talking about that. It was actually quite inspiring.
Yeah, it's really taking the expertise of the world at large, if you want to call it that, in each of our industries, in each of our professions, and then bringing that into a format that we can share with customers that's easy to understand, easy to apply, and will get results. And for most small businesses, we need results like this week, this month, next month, not 5 years from now. It's one thing to have a great goal and plan to be a millionaire, but the only way I know that you could probably do that is take $5 million and buy a restaurant.
Yeah, I was laughing because I've seen some coaches that have a speciality and they want to go into a business and just apply that speciality, regardless of what's going on in the business. It's ignoring the fact that the business needs to make money tomorrow. Well, yeah, but we need to work on this area because that's what I know how to do, as opposed to, saying, sometimes you might have to say, well, it sounds like maybe that's more important. Why don't we get someone to help you with that? Because this can probably wait if you don't have that, right?
Yeah, which actually brings up a really good point. And one of the ways that a coach can build their business is by creating joint ventures. So much like what you and I are doing today, we're sharing resources and we're having an opportunity to grow our market simply because now we've got both types of services or practices supplying solutions for customers. So that's a way that a coach can build a successful business if they're an expert in one particular area. Find other coaches or other business people who can supply the rest of the things that a business owner needs. And I think a lot of businesses nowadays really appreciate a supplier or somebody they're working with like a coach that has a toolbox of other resources, things
Yeah.
that they can throw into the mix to help the business owner.
Mm. Look, I'm looking at the time, and we need to, be careful. We can talk forever. I really appreciate the time you've taken today, Dave. It's always refreshing, and it's something that's really important that a lot of people, a lot of coaches especially, forget that they, in order to succeed as a coach, they need to be able to get clients, and that means they need to run a business. And marketing is part of building their business. They need to learn how to do that, you know.
Absolutely.
And I think you've got some great tools that they can reach out to you. I know we have it on the screen here. It's dsaxby at sparkcommunications.com. Is it okay if they reach out directly to you?
Absolutely.
All right, and we'll put it on the Facebook as well and the social media platforms so that people can reach out and connect with you. Is there anything you want to leave us with before we shut off here, Dave?
Oh, well, I think the biggest thing that I could say to people today in this market in particular is start to set a plan in place, develop a strategy, and then find a way that you can get the resources to put it into place. And so one of the things we do with our coaching program is we have 3 levels of coaching. So one is a do-it-yourself, where they actually get access to a full ebook or learning library and emails. The second one is where we can put them into a group format and they can share ideas with other business people. And the third one is where we do a one-on-one situation and work with the individual on a weekly basis and give them access to all of the tools and resources online that we have. So that's one of the beauties with the e-learning program is that I'm not the smartest guy on the block, but there's lots of resources in there that can help people grow their business.
That's awesome. Thanks, Dave, and it's a pleasure as usual. And I'm sure, depending on what happens over the next few weeks, you and I, there's so much more to talk about. So we'll
absolutely.
We'll need to get you back here, buddy.
Well, thanks for the time, Maggie. I really enjoyed our conversation as always, and we seem to have no challenge talking about all sorts of things. And today was another one of those great conversations.
You bet. Thanks, Dave, and you have a good day. Stay warm.
Yes, no kidding. Bye for now.
All right. Cheers.